The CEO wife would never have dreamed that after taking her daughter to her male assistant's house for one night and not returning, I had already asked the system to let me quit the conquest mission. When the wife returned home with a gift, she discovered that there was no trace of me left in the house. Even our painstakingly decorated honeymoon suite was destroyed in an instant. The daughter cried until her eyes were red, demanding to find her father. The wife frantically made phone calls. The only response was the number you have dialed does not exist. At that moment, the mother and daughter broke down and hysterically called for the system. I want to go home now. The system responded quickly. All right, host, the departure program is initiating. You will be able to leave this place in just a moment. The usually robotic system rarely hesitated for a few seconds. With a hint of confusion, it asked another question. Host, you have a wife here who loves you dearly and a well-behaved daughter. Can't this place be considered your home? They are your family. Hearing the word family, my gaze slowly fell upon the television screen. At that moment, the TV was broadcasting live, the CEO of the Shen Group. Footage of Shen Yuwei and her daughter Ha Xinyan getting off the plane. Shen Yuwei held her daughter Ha Xinyan tightly. Her steps were hurried and firm as she walked forward. A crowd of reporters jogged to keep up. Among them, one reporter asked loudly, CEO Shen, we heard that after finishing your meeting in France yesterday, you took a flight back overnight. In such a hurry, is there something important? Shen Yuwei, who was always serious and cold in the business world and rarely smiled or spoke, now gave an incredibly gentle smile to the camera. That smile seemed capable of melting all the ice and snow in the world. Today is my husband's birthday. My daughter and I naturally have to come back to celebrate it with him. In my heart, anything related to my husband is the most important thing. The little girl, Ha Xinyan, also held up the bag she was carrying. She said in a childish voice, Daddy, Mom and I have a gift for you. We're almost home. The reporters wanted to ask more questions, but Shen Yui indicated that she was in a hurry and would not answer any more questions. She only left a fleeting silhouette for the cameras as she hurried away. The reporter said with a face full of admiration, CEO Shen's feelings for her husband are as steadfast as ever. It's been 10 years, but she's still as deeply in love as she was at the beginning. CEO Shen is truly a rare and wonderful wife. Even their daughter takes after CEO Shen, so well-mannered. With a wife and daughter like this, I think her husband must be very happy. I turned off the TV. A bitter smile appeared on my face. Happy? A month ago, I would have answered happy without hesitation and with conviction. But now, I couldn't bring myself to say those words. No one knew that I wasn't actually from this world. 10 years ago, I transmigrated to this world. My mission was to save Shen Yuwei, who had witnessed her parents' death as a child. The first time I met her, she was like a wounded little animal, locking herself away, refusing to communicate with the outside world. She exuded an aura of gloom. I spent a full 3 years to slowly, bit by bit, lead her out of the darkness, allowing her to become the influential CEO of the Shen Corporation she is today. The moment she took full control of the Shen Corporation, my mission was complete. But when the system asked if I wanted to leave, I hesitated. In my mind, the image of Shen Yuwei hugging me tightly kept replaying as she cried and begged me not to leave. I didn't dare to imagine what would happen to Shen Yuwei, who had already lost her parents once, if I, the person she loved so deeply, also left her. What would she become? So I chose to stay in this world and marry her. At the wedding, I solemnly told Shen Yuwei, if one day you betray me, I will disappear from this world. Back then, Shen Yuwei held my hand tightly, making a solemn vow, saying that day would never come. Her love for me would be eternal. After getting married, she was exactly like her wedding vows. Her love for me didn't diminish in the slightest. On the contrary, it grew even more passionate. On every anniversary, big or small, she would put aside all her work to be with me wholeheartedly. When she went out for business engagements, if any man got too close, she would have them removed without a second thought. When she gave birth, I was on my way to the hospital when I unfortunately got into a car accident and was taken to the ICU. Shen Yuwei, despite her weak body from just giving birth, knelt outside the operating room for a whole day and night, praying to the heavens for my safety. When I came out of the operating room, she dragged her legs, which had long gone numb, and staggered to my bedside. She grasped my hand tightly and said through tears, Wu Mo, thank goodness. You're awake. If anything had happened to you, I wouldn't have wanted to live anymore. When naming our daughter, she chose the name Ha Xinyan without hesitation. She said it symbolized that I was the only one in her heart. Our daughter, Ha Xinyan, with my dedicated companionship and influence, also became especially attached to me, her father. Every day before school, she would always give me a sweet kiss on the cheek. And the first thing she did after school was look for me, her father. My former self firmly believed that I would be happy forever. Unfortunately, vows, like dandelions in the wind, have long since scattered. In the long river of time, the mother and daughter who once loved me so deeply are now building another home with a male assistant on the side. They hid from me countless times to reunite with that man. My wife of 5 years would intimately wrap her arms around Yang Tai-Wei's waist and coquettishly call him hubby. The daughter I raised from infancy would snuggle into Yang Tai-Wei's arms and sweetly call him brother Yang. Even yesterday, they weren't in France for a meeting. They were in Switzerland, skiing with Yang Taiwei. The words from the wedding have now come true. The moment I learned the truth, I made up my mind to leave this world, to leave this deceitful mother and daughter. I looked at the birthday cake slowly melting in front of me and muttered to myself, they are not my family anymore. I want to leave them. Who wants to leave? Just as the words left my mouth, two voices spoke in unison. I looked up to see Shen Yue and Ha Xinyan standing at the door. Ha Xinyan got down from Shen Yue's arms and happily ran into my arms with her short legs. Daddy, who did you just say wants to leave? I opened my mouth slightly. A friend of Daddy's. His marriage fell apart. He plans to leave his wife and daughter. Ha Xinyan looked up and gave me a firm kiss on the cheek. Daddy's friend, how pitiful. It's a good thing Mom and I will love you forever. After putting away her coat, Shen Yue walked over and leaned into my arms. Her tone was as gentle as ever. Our daughter is right. Wu Mo, our family will be together forever. I said nothing. My long eyelashes hid the bitterness in my eyes. Forever? We won't have a forever anymore. Ha Xinyan saw the cake on the table and hurriedly took out the bag in her hands. She said excitedly, Daddy, this is the gift Mom and I picked out for you. Shen Yue took a gift box out of the bag. Inside was a Richard Mille watch. Her voice carried a hint of guilt. Wu Mo, work in France was too busy. My daughter and I came back a little late. Please don't be angry with us. As she spoke, she took out the watch, intending to put it on for me. The moment she got close, I smelled a strong, woody fragrance. But I never wear cologne. My stomach suddenly churned, couldn't help but push the mother and daughter away, and rushed to the bathroom, retching uncontrollably. Shen Yue had always been very concerned about my health. Normally, if I even coughed slightly, she would be worried sick. Seeing me like this now, she was even more frantic, calling for a doctor. I held her hand back. My eyes, red from retching, stared at her without blinking. I'm fine. I was just thinking about my friend's wife and daughter. Their deceitful behavior feels disgusting. Shen Yue, if you don't love me anymore, impossible. Before I could finish, Shen Yue immediately interrupted me. She stepped forward and hugged me tightly, as if wanting to merge me into her body, never to be separated again. She said urgently, Wu Mo, don't you know my heart? I will only ever love you in this lifetime. I won't let you leave me. Ha Xinyan also clenched her fists and said with a serious expression, Don't worry, Daddy. Mom and I will absolutely never do anything to hurt you. I'll even help you keep an eye on Mom. If Mom dares to do anything to wrong you, I'll definitely tell you right away. I'll always be on your side. This made Shen Yue laugh. In your heart, is that what kind of person your mother is? Ha! Xinyan glared at her. Anyway, I love Daddy the most. I have to protect him. Listening to their banter, there wasn't a hint of a smile on my face. I just felt like a sharp knife was churning in my heart. Shen Yue said she loved me, but she had another man on the side. Ha Xinyan said she'd protect me, but she helped Shen Yue hide it, deceiving me. I could no longer tell if their words were lies or the truth. The next morning, Shen Yue made breakfast for me herself as usual. She brought it to me with a doting look in her eyes. Wu Mo, after breakfast, let's go skiing as a family. My daughter and I were late yesterday, so today, we'll make it up to you and celebrate your birthday. Ha Xinyan also handed me a glass of fresh juice. She hugged my waist and whined, Let's go, please. Daddy, skiing is so much fun. I had no interest in skiing, but in the time it took to eat breakfast, Shen Yue and her daughter had already packed everything. They pulled me into the car. It wasn't until we arrived at the ski resort that I understood why this mother and daughter were so insistent on coming here. As soon as we got out of the car, I saw Yang Taiwei standing at the entrance of the ski resort looking around. Shen Yue and Ha Xinyan, after getting out of the car. Yang Taiwei's eyes lit up. He immediately jogged over. Very naturally, he took the scarf from his neck and wrapped it around Ha Xinyan's. Then he handed a thermos to Shen Yue. I silently watched his fluid, seamless series of actions. Although Ha Xinyan was still young, she never liked being touched by people outside the family. And Shen Yue, ever since someone drugged her drink 6 years ago, had never accepted a drink from any man other than me. Shen Yue coughed lightly. Her voice carried a hint of awkwardness. Wu Mo, this is my assistant, Yang Taiwei. He arranged this ski trip. It's a bit more convenient with him around, so I asked him to come along. Ha Xinyan also chimed in at the right moment. That's right, Daddy. We just have to worry about having fun. Isn't that great? Was it really for convenience, or because they wanted to be with Yang Taiwei at all times? I no longer had the energy to figure out the true thoughts of this mother and daughter. It was only then that Yang Taiwei acted as if he had just seen me. He timidly extended his hand towards me. Hello, sir. I won't disturb your family. I keenly spotted a white mark on his wrist. What are you wearing on your wrist? Hearing this, Yang Taiwei revealed his wrist. On it was a diamond-encrusted watch. He replied with a happy expression, This is a gift from my family. Over the past 5 years, Shen Yue had given me many watches. I could tell at a glance that this watch and the necklace from last night belonged to the same collection. I curled my lip into a sarcastic smile. Mr. Yang, it seems your family loves you very much. Shen Yue and her daughter took a complete watch collection, split it into two, one half for me and the other half for Yang Taiwei, just like their hearts, which could also be split in two. Yang Taiwei beamed. That's right, they always say they love me the most. They dote on me like a child, perhaps worried that I would see through them. Along the way, Shen Yui and Hak Xinyan were both solicitous towards me. I coughed slightly, and Shen Yui immediately took off her own coat in distress, to drape over my shoulders. She then poured hot water from the thermos and thoughtfully brought it to my lips. Ha Xinyan also took off the scarf around her neck and properly put it on for me, nagging me like a little old lady to keep warm. But I didn't want anything to do with these items that reeked of cologne. I just said I wanted to go back to the hotel to rest, and walked away without looking back. The mother and daughter, Shen Yui, exchanged a look. Both decided to return to the hotel to rest with me. It wasn't until dusk that Shen Yui's phone rang. I quickly muted it. After turning to see me still unresponsive on the bed, she breathed a sigh of relief. On the screen, the name Yang Tai Wei was flashing incessantly. Beside her, Ha Xinyan tugged on Shen Yui's sleeve. She lowered her voice. Mommy, I want to see Brother Yang. Shen Yui quickly made a shushing gesture. The mother and daughter looked at each other, then quietly tiptoed out of the room. The moment the door closed, I opened my eyes. I put on my coat and followed them. Shen Yui and her daughter walked hurriedly. They finally arrived at Yang Tai Wei's room. As soon as the door opened, Yang Tai Wei immediately pulled Shen Yui into his arms. His voice was full of grievance. Yui, you two are finally here. I was in the hotel all by myself today. I was so scared. I don't dare to hope for the same treatment as the sir, being with you two 24 hours a day. I'd be happy if you could just spend 2 hours with me each day. Shen Yui's biggest weakness was his tears. As soon as she saw his tears, her heart melted. She hurriedly kissed the corner of his mouth in distress. How could 2 hours be enough? My daughter and I will stay with you all night. Ha Xinyan also explained from the side. Brother Yang, Daddy just fell asleep. Mom and I came over immediately. We really wanted to be with you too. Yang Tai Wei looked moved, but then he seemed to think of something, and his expression fell. Actually, I was very cold today too, but you two only had eyes for the sir, and you even gave away the scarf and thermos I worked so hard to prepare for you. Worried that Yang Tai Wei was sad, Ha Xinyan rushed forward and took his hand. Don't be sad, Brother Yang. It's all my and Mom's fault. Let me warm you up. My hands are much warmer than a scarf. Shen Yui also dotingly tapped his nose. You're such a jealous one, getting jealous over such a small thing. I knew you didn't get enough skiing in Switzerland, so I specially chose this place. Isn't that enough? Hearing this, Yang Tai Wei lowered his head and quickly kissed the corner of her mouth. Thank you, Xiao Shen. Shen Yui's eyes instantly darkened. She held Yang Tai Wei's head firmly, and their lips and tongues intertwined in a passionate French kiss. Ha Xinyan covered her eyes. Whoa, I don't want to be a third wheel. No way. A long while later, Shen Yui finally let go. Yang Tai Wei's face was flushed. He lightly punched her on the chest. Xinyan is still here. Shen Yui took his hand, brought it to her lips, and placed a kiss on it. What's there to be afraid of? It's not like she's never seen it before. Then she put her arm around Yang Tai Wei's waist and led Ha Xinyan into the room, closing the door behind them. From behind a nearby pillar, tears were already streaming down my face. Even though I already knew they had betrayed me, seeing all of this with my own eyes still felt like a pain that pierced my very bones. Every word turned into a sharp sword, stabbing my heart 1,000,000 times over. The so-called making up for my birthday was nothing more than satisfying Yang Tai Wei's regret of not having had enough fun. I squatted down, clutching my chest. The words of Shen Yui and her daughter from last night still rang in my ears. They won't let me leave. But, Shen Yui, Hak Xinyan, I have already made up my mind to leave you. The next morning when I woke up, Shen Yui and Ha Xinyan happened to be walking into the room with breakfast. Seeing that I was awake, Shen Yui very naturally handed the breakfast to me. She looked at me with doting eyes. My daughter and I wanted to let you sleep in, so we got up especially early to get breakfast. Ha Xinyan climbed onto the bed and leaned on my shoulder. I was only away from Daddy for a little while, but I already missed you so much. Daddy. I felt the ever-present coldness on the other side of the bed. A hint of self-mockery appeared in my eyes. They were clearly gone all night, having just gotten out of Yang Tai Wei's bed, yet this mother and daughter could spin it as getting breakfast. I never knew their acting was this good before. After breakfast, mother and daughter relentlessly took me to the ski resort. Yang Tai Wei was already dressed in ski gear, waiting for us at the entrance, but I had no interest in skiing. Shen Yui looked at me with some concern. Her tone was a bit probing. Wu Mo, what's been wrong with you these past 2 days? Did my daughter and I do something to make you unhappy? I shook my head. No. It's just my friend's situation. It's been affecting my mood lately. Only then did Shen Yui breathe a sigh of relief. She gently placed a kiss on my forehead. Don't you worry. Wu Mo, something like that will absolutely never happen in our family. If you don't want to ski then. Before she could finish, Yang Tai Wei's hesitant voice cut in. Xiao Shen, seeing the longing in Yang Tai Wei's eyes, Shen Yui, not wanting to disappoint him, changed what she was about to say. Then you wait here obediently for my daughter and me, okay? My daughter and I will go ski a few rounds with Assistant Yang and be right back. Ha Xinyan said nothing, but I keenly noticed that her hand was already secretly clutching the hem of Yang Tai Wei's jacket. Perhaps they were too eager to enjoy their world of 3, that they were no longer worried about their actions being discovered by me. I nodded numbly. Shen Yui specifically instructed the hotel staff to take care of me. She also took gloves from her bag and carefully put them on for me. Wu Mo, it's cold here. I'm worried you'll catch a cold. If you feel unwell anywhere, call me immediately. Ha Xinyan also pretended to check the zipper on my jacket. I don't want to see you get sick either, Daddy. Yang Taiwei watched Shen Yuwei and her daughter focus all their attention on me, couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. Sir, Xiao Shen and her daughter treat you so well. Hearing this, I looked up at him. In Yang Taiwei's eyes, he hadn't yet had time to hide a subtle glint of jealousy. I just smiled profoundly. I think your family loves you a little more. After all, for Shen Yui and her daughter to be able to hide from me and build another home with Yang Taiwei was enough to prove that they had never considered my feelings. What they cared about more was being with Yang Taiwei. As soon as the words were spoken, a loud explosion came from the distance. The ground beneath my feet also seemed to start shaking. I was about to ask what was happening when I looked up and saw a dazzling white expanse rushing in this direction. Everyone around immediately scattered in all directions. The scene was chaotic. I instinctively grabbed the hem of Shen Yuai's clothes, but in the very next second, I watched helplessly as Shen Yuai's hem slipped from my hand. She ran towards Yang Taiwei. And Ha Xinyan, who had been standing in front of me, also ran in the same direction. Yuan, Brother Yang, the dense avalanche came crashing down on me. A second before I lost consciousness, I saw Shen Yui, who once said she loved me, and Ha Xinyan, who once swore to protect me, tightly shielding the man in their arms. When I regained consciousness, it was a week later. The nurse saw that I was awake and happily hurried to inform the doctor to come and check on me. Mr. Ha, you're finally awake. CEO Shen and the young miss have invited almost every doctor in the city to pray for your safety. CEO Shen even donated 10 million to a charity fund, just hoping to dedicate this merit to you, so that you would wake up soon. If they know you're awake, they will definitely be very happy. As she finished speaking, Shen Yui and Ha Xinyan pushed the door open and entered. Seeing that I was awake, the two of them immediately hugged me tightly in fear. The heartache in their eyes could not be concealed. Wu Mo, you're finally awake. Do you know how worried I've been this week? Ha Xinyan's eyes were red, her voice choked with sobs. Dad, I was so scared. I was scared you wouldn't wake up again. People always say Shen Yui is cold and heartless, but at this moment I felt a hot teardrop on the back of my hand. Tears also welled up in Ha Xinyan's eyes. However, their tears did not stir any emotion in my heart. I only found it ironic. When danger struck, the person they instinctively protected was Yang Taiwei. When I saw that scene, it would be a lie to say it didn't hurt. I believed I had given my sincere heart to Shen Yui, loving her with all my heart and soul. As for my daughter Ha Xinyan, I had taken care of her myself since she was little, raising her to adulthood. But Yang Taiwei had only appeared for a few short months, and he could easily erase all of this, taking my place. Seeing this, Shen Yui and her daughter suddenly panicked. They hurriedly began to explain. Wu Mo, the situation that day was too urgent. I couldn't clearly see who you were for a moment, so I ended up protecting the wrong person. Dad, Mom and I will never let you be in danger again. This time, it was all our fault. My body, having just woken up, was still weak. At this moment, I just felt extremely tired. I no longer had the strength to expose their clumsy lies. I just had to wait one last week, and I could leave this place, leave this mother-daughter pair wearing masks. For the next few days, Shen Yui and her daughter, perhaps out of guilt, stayed at the hospital, never leaving for a moment. However, Shen Yui's phone never stopped ringing. The phone rang constantly every day, but she never answered it. Until today, my phone vibrated with a message. Her pupils constricted. Her expression changed slightly. A few seconds later, she spoke with a guilty look. Wu Mo, there's something urgent at the company. I'll go take care of it and be back. Ha Xinyan peeked at the screen. After seeing clearly, she also spoke up eagerly. Dad, I want to go to the company with Mom too. I took in all their expressions. What company business would require a child like Xinyan to go along? It was just because of Yang Taiwei. Seeing me nod, mother and daughter hurriedly left. I got out of bed and followed them. In a corner of the hospital corridor, I saw a teary-eyed Yang Taiwei throw himself into Shen Yui's arms. Shen Yui's face was a bit gloomy. She pushed his hand away. Her voice carried a warning. What are you doing at the hospital? I've already told you, Wu Mo's body hasn't fully recovered yet. Be good and stay at home for these few days. Don't appear in front of Wu Mo. Hearing this, Yang Taiwei cried even harder. He threw himself into her arms again, wrapping his arms tightly around her waist. He said resentfully, I just missed you two so much. I haven't seen you two in 10 days. You clearly promised to spend at least 2 hours with me every day before. Ha Xinyan saw Yang Taiwei crying and frantically explained, Brother Yang, Mom and I also miss you a lot. It's just that Dad's health hasn't recovered yet. We have to stay by Dad's side. Mom, hurry up and comfort Brother Yang. Feeling the wetness on her chest and hearing her daughter's advice, Shen Yui sighed. Her expression softened. Don't cry anymore. Your crying makes my heart ache too. How about I spend 2 whole days with you later? Yang Taiwei's crying stopped immediately. Really? After receiving Shen Yui's affirmative answer, Yang Taiwei finally stopped crying and smiled. He lightly kissed her lips a few times. Shen Yui wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him back. The two kissed passionately, unwilling to part, as if to express all the longing of the past 10 days. Ha Xinyan saw this scene and covered her eyes, turning her head away, but her voice carried a hint of a smile. Mom and Brother Yang are so naughty. I returned to the hospital room like a wooden puppet. Tears slid from the corners of my eyes, wetting the pillow. I bit my lower lip hard, not letting myself cry out loud. I kept telling myself in my heart, just wait a little longer, just a little longer and I can leave. This is the last time I will shed tears for them. Perhaps the prolonged coldness before had made Yang Taiwei feel a sense of crisis. He finally tore off his mask, revealing his true face. The next morning when I woke up, I saw that Yang Taiwei had sent one provocative message after another last night. Ha Wu Mo, I know you saw it. How was it? The feeling of seeing your own wife kiss another man, with your daughter helping to cover it up, isn't that feeling great? Yui loves to see me cry the most. She says seeing my tears gives her a strange sense of satisfaction, especially in bed. Every time I shed a tear, she will agree to any request I make. She even said she wishes she could stick to me 24/7. Yue has never treated you like that, right? Even your daughter likes me being by her side. She says being with me feels especially comfortable and free. One time she thought I was asleep and secretly called me dad. You are truly a failure as a husband. Looking at these provocative messages, I tried to suppress the surging emotions in my heart. Then I took screenshots and saved all these messages. There are only 3 days left before I leave. These can be considered the final gift I leave for Shen Yue and her daughter. In the morning, I requested to be discharged. The hospital informed Shen Yue of this news. Soon, I received a call from Shen Yue. Her tone was full of guilt. Wu Mo, I can't get away from work at the company lately. They'll send someone to pick you up. They'll take care of our daughter. You just rest well at home. I knew they were with Yang Taiwei. I just gave a faint escaping the world. 3 days before, I returned home and told the housekeepers to pack up all my belongings and throw them away. A housekeeper asked, puzzled, Sir, are you getting new things? I nodded. What they didn't know was, it wasn't just the things that needed to be replaced, but the male master of this house was also about to be replaced. Escaping the world. 2 days before, I opened the secret room that only I, Shen Yue, and her daughter could enter. On the walls of the secret room were plastered all our photos together from the past 10 years, along with the uninterrupted annual family photos after Ha Xinyan was born. In 10 years' time, the people in the photos went from innocent to mature, and from the original 2 people, we became the 3 we are now. But now, one face was about to be removed. I held a pair of scissors and sat in the secret room from morning till night, cutting my image out of every photo, leaving only Shen Yue and Ha Xinyan. I then took from the safe the marriage certificate that Shen Yue had solemnly put away 5 years ago. When I opened the marriage certificate, I was surprised to find a poem Shen Yue wrote at our wedding tucked inside. Wu Mo, to me, you are my whole world. Because of you, my world is once again filled with sunshine. I will love you forever. I believe we will surely be together until our hair turns gray, loving each other for lifetimes to come. I read it word by word. A piece of paper densely filled with words described the deep affection a 22-year-old Shen Yue had for me. Reading to the end, I let out a silent laugh. A hint of wetness appeared in the corners of my eyes. In the end, I put the vow back into the marriage certificate, along with the cut-out parts of my photos piled up in the middle of the flower garden, and lit a fire. I stood there, watching helplessly as the photos and marriage certificate turned to ash, escaping the world. 1 day before, I printed all the photos and messages that Yang Taiwei had been relentlessly sending for the past few days. I took screenshots and printed them out. In the photos, there was a half-naked Shen Yue with a neck full of hickeys snuggling in Yang Taiwei's arms. There was Ha Xinyan with eyes full of admiration, leaning against Yang Taiwei, listening to him tell bedtime stories. There were photos of the 3 of them, Yang Taiwei, Shen Yue, and Ha Xinyan, wearing matching cartoon headbands, taking pictures together at an amusement park. I thought I would still feel heartbroken, but I found that now, facing these pictures, there was only the calmness of stagnant water left. I put all the printed photos into a file folder and also took off my wedding ring and put it inside. The day of departure happened to be the 7th anniversary of my wedding with Shen Yue. Shen Yue and Ha Xinyan, whom I hadn't seen for days, returned early in the morning. In Shen Yue's hand was a heart-shaped cake. Wu Mo, work has been too busy lately. It's my fault. Today is our wedding anniversary. Our daughter and I will definitely not go anywhere and will stay home with you all day. Ha Xinyan also raised her fist and swore. Dad will be the witness. Mom works every day. Every time she works overtime, I always remember my responsibility to help Dad keep a close eye on Mom. I looked at the 2 of them making their vows and softly asked, Aren't you tired? Running back and forth between me and Yang Taiwei while also having to pretend to be a good wife in front of me, a good daughter. Weren't they really tired? Shen Yue and Ha Xinyan answered in unison, not tired. Ha Xinyan took my hand, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. Anything related to Dad, I will never feel tired. Shen Yue lovingly pinched my cheek. Wu Mo, no matter how busy and hard work gets, the moment I see you, all my fatigue disappears. Besides, today is our wedding anniversary. We have to celebrate together every year. Even if there's more work at the company, I had to come back. I just smiled and said nothing more. Shen Yue put the cake down and started busying herself in the kitchen. She gave all the staff the day off today, preparing to personally cook a few of my favorite dishes to celebrate the anniversary. Ha Xinyan was not to be outdone. She brought a small stool and started cutting fruit to make juice. After half a day of busyness, until noon, all the dishes were finally served on the table. Shen Yui lit a number 7 candle and took my hand. The love in her eyes seemed about to overflow. Wu Mo, if you hadn't been by my side back then. Ha Xinyan clapped happily beside us. Wow, Mom and Dad are so romantic. However, a sudden ringtone interrupted this warm atmosphere. I pulled my hand back and handed her the phone that was flashing Yang Taiwai's name on the screen. Shen Yui said with a smile, I won't answer anyone's call today, but I insisted on giving it to her. After she saw the name on the screen clearly, she hesitated for a second and finally took the phone. Wu Mo, it's my assistant calling. I'm worried it's something urgent at the company. I'll just take it for a moment. After saying that, she went to the side to answer the phone. By the time she came back, her face, unsurprisingly, wore that familiar guilty expression again. Wu Mo, I'm sorry, something urgent has come up at the company. I need to go and handle it. Ha Xinyan didn't know what was said on the other end, but she saw it was Yang Taiwai's call. She quickly jumped off her chair and ran to Shen Yui's side. Dad, I want to go too. I can help Dad supervise Mom so she can finish her work early and come home. Looking at the big and small one in front of me with their eager expressions, I just nodded gently. Go ahead. Shen Yui, I immediately breathed a sigh of relief. She picked up Ha Xinyan, and they kissed me on the left and right cheeks. Be good at home. Wait for us to come back. Dad, see you later. After saying that, they left in a hurry, not noticing my indifference. They would never know. This would be the last time the three of them would meet. I watched from the window until Shen Yui's car completely disappeared. I took the burnout candles on the table and threw them into the trash along with the cake. Then I went back to the bedroom, took the prepared file folder, and went out the door. 10 years ago, Shen Yui and I first met at a private sanatorium in the suburbs. Now the sanatorium is abandoned. Only walls full of ivy covering this building remain. I walked along the path of memory, stopping and starting. Memories related to Shen Yui rushed towards me like a tide. When we first met, she was completely unresponsive. Then later, she gradually got used to my presence until finally, she hugged me tightly in the pouring rain, refusing to let go. My footsteps stopped under a large banyan tree in the backyard. The banyan tree, lush with branches and leaves 10 years ago, was still full of life now. I caressed the tree trunk with my hand. The two names were so faded they were almost illegible. It was as if I could see the stubborn-faced young girl from back then again, but her eyes carried love and worry. Ha Wu Mo, I will only love you in this life, she said. Ha Wu Mo, I won't let you leave me. We will be together forever. Then she solemnly carved both our names, stroke by stroke. But later, she split one heart in two, half for me and half for the man outside. And this so-called forever only lasted 10 years. The 19-year-old Shen Yui would never know that. Her 29-year-old self would lose Ha Wu Mo forever. I used a rock to dig a small hole in the ground bit by bit and placed the file folder in my hands inside. Then I carefully covered it with soil. After that, I made one last phone call to Shen Yui. She answered almost immediately, still as gentle as before. Wu Mo, what's up? Is something wrong? I looked at the large banyan tree in front of me and said softly, Do you still remember the banyan tree at the sanatorium? Shen Yui's voice, tinged with a smile, came through. Of course I remember. That's where I confessed to you under that banyan tree. Time flies so fast. It's almost been 10 years in a flash. I smiled too. That's good then. I've prepared a gift for you in Ha Xinyan. It's buried under the banyan tree. Remember to come get it. Shen Yui's voice carried a pleasant surprise. Our daughter is already getting excited hearing this news. I'm looking forward to it too. Well, go get it after we're done with company matters. After we get home, our family of 3 will look at it together tonight. I didn't answer. I hung up the phone. There won't be a family of 3 anymore. I knew they definitely wouldn't come home tonight, and I wouldn't be going back either. From now on, the Shen family will no longer have me, Ha Wu Mo. The mechanical sound I hadn't heard in a long time rang in my ear. Host departure program preparation is complete. Do you confirm your departure? Confirm. As soon as the word was spoken, a dazzling white light appeared before me, forming a passageway. A strong wind rose from all directions, blowing the banyan leaves away, scattering them in the air. I stepped in without any hesitation. Shen Yui, Ha Xinyan, from now on, we will never meet again. On the other side, Shen Yui woke up from a nightmare the next morning and sat up abruptly, gasping for breath. She instinctively hugged the waist of the man beside her. I had a terrible nightmare last night. I dreamt that you wanted to leave me. I desperately chased after you, but you didn't look back even once. Luckily, it was just a dream. Luckily, as soon as I opened my eyes, you were right here beside me. Wu Mo. Being hugged by Shen Yui, Yang Taiwei, who was feeling sweet inside, froze after hearing the name she uttered. His expression stiffened for a moment. Then he wrapped his arms around her neck and spoke with a hint of resentment. Yui, the person beside you last night was me. Shen Yui, whose expression had been affectionate, suddenly stiffened. She sat up again and pressed her temples hard with both hands. Why am I at your place? I remember saying last night that my daughter and I had to go home. Yang Taiwei moved forward and hugged her waist, pressing his naked body against her back. Yui, have you forgotten? Last night, after dinner, you hugged me and took me to the room. After that, Shen Yui shook her head. Her mind finally regained its clarity. Memories of last night also flooded her mind. Last night, young Taiwei pulled her into the bathroom and she acted on impulse. This made Shen Yue a bit frustrated. Yesterday was our 7th wedding anniversary. How could she have been so foolish? Wumo was at home alone. Who knows how long he waited for her and their daughter. She had to go back quickly. Shen Yue pushed his hand away, grabbed her clothes from the side, and only got dressed after confirming there were no improper marks. Yang Taiwei bit his lower lip hard. A flash of extreme hatred crossed his eyes. He reached out and pulled Shen Yue back, using his usual weak expression. He looked at her pitifully. It's so early now. Sara must still be asleep. Sleep a little longer before you go. But the nightmare from last night became clearer and clearer in Shen Yue's mind. She could even clearly remember my resolute back, along with the panic and heartbreak she felt as she chased after me. Shen Yue felt a little inexplicably uneasy in her heart. She shook off Yang Taiwei's hand. Her eyes carried a warning. Since when do I need your permission to go home to my husband? Yang Taiwei could only lie on the bed, watching Shen Yue with resentment as she picked up Ha Xinyan from the next room and strode away. When Shen Yue placed Ha Xinyan in the back seat, the little girl sleepily woke up. Her first sentence upon seeing Shen Yue was choked with sobs. Mom, last night I dreamed that Dad didn't want me anymore. Dad was hugging another child in his arms. That child also called him Dad. I told him not to call him Dad, but Dad said he wasn't my dad anymore, and that I shouldn't be the one calling him that. These words made Shen Yue, who had just calmed down, her heart hang in suspense once again. Why did she and her daughter both dream of me leaving at the same time? Could this be some kind of bad omen? But in the next second, she immediately denied it. No, that's impossible. You and our daughter just didn't come home last night, that's all. As long as I explain it clearly to him, he will surely understand. Shen Yue reassured her daughter Tan Yan. It was just a dream, sweetie. You're Daddy's daughter. How could he not want you? Once we get home, we'll obediently apologize to Daddy, and he'll forgive us. At the same time, her foot pressed harder and harder on the accelerator. The car shot down the road like an arrow from a bow. When passing by a flower shop, Shen Yue slammed on the brakes. Tan Yan, wait for Mommy in the car. I'm going to buy a bouquet of flowers for Daddy. Stepping into the flower shop, Shen Yue specifically asked for Lily of the Valley, her favorite flower. The shop owner, with a bright smile, took out stems of Lily of the Valley one by one, arranging them into a beautiful bouquet for her. It's rare these days to see someone so thoughtful when giving flowers. Most people just let me choose for them. You must love your husband very much. Looking at the dew-kissed, lovely flowers, the image of his smiling face whenever he received flowers appeared in her mind. Shen Yue's wildly beating heart finally calmed down a little. She smiled back in response. Yes, I love my husband very much. This bouquet is to apologize to him. Lily of the Valley is his favorite flower. I hope after he sees this bouquet it will make him stop being angry with me. The owner handed her the wrapped bouquet. She shook her head disapprovingly. All men really need is the sincere heart of their beloved. As long as you haven't made a fundamental mistake, and as long as he still loves you, even if you just picked a wildflower by the roadside for him, he would still forgive you. I hope you succeed in getting your husband's forgiveness. These words made Shen Yue's face turn considerably pale. She took the bouquet, and after paying, she left, almost as if she were fleeing. Back in the car, she checked her and He Tan Yan's clothes one more time. Only when she saw no flaws did she start the car with peace of mind and sped away. What was originally a 40-minute journey, she cut down to just a 20-minute drive. The moment the car stopped, she held He Tan Yan's hand, carried the bouquet in her other arm, and strode quickly into the house. Opening the door, the villa was as quiet as ever. She looked at the time. It was still early. He must still be sleeping at this hour. If she brought the flowers to the bedside now, he would definitely be surprised when he woke up. She lowered her voice. Tan Yan, let's sneak into the bedroom. We'll put the flowers on the nightstand. Don't wake Daddy up, okay? He Tan Yan nodded understandingly. The mother and daughter tiptoed upstairs. Pushing open the bedroom door, there was no one on the bed. The blanket was spread smoothly on the bed, without a single wrinkle. Shen Yue walked over and lifted the blanket, only to be met with a cold surface. It didn't seem like anyone had slept here last night at all. Seeing no sign of her father in the room, He Tan Yan panicked a little and tugged at her sleeve. Mommy, where did Daddy go? The unease Shen Yue had felt all along the way completely erupted at this moment. She had no mind to answer He Tan Yan's question and hurriedly ran downstairs to ask the staff. Did any of you see the master go out today? The staff looked at each other in confusion, then shook their heads in unison. Mom, we haven't seen the master at all since we arrived today. That's right. At this hour the master should still be sleeping. We didn't dare go to the bedroom floor to disturb him. No one saw him. Then he must still be in the house. He must be angry, just hiding on purpose. Shen Yue kept consoling herself in her heart. She took out her phone and texted him. Wumo, where are you? Our daughter and I are home. I really couldn't get away from company matters last night. That's why we didn't come home. I'm sorry. I promise it won't happen again. Okay? Let's go on vacation to Hawaii. That way, no one will bother us anymore. The three of us will make up for the anniversary and have a wonderful time. Wumo, don't scare me. Please? Message after message was sent, but the chat window remained entirely one-sided. There was no reply whatsoever. Shen Yue couldn't hold back any longer. She quickly called him, but the other end of the line was just a cold, mechanical voice. Sorry. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Little He Tan Yan now felt the unease in her heart growing stronger. When she saw that even the phone call wouldn't go through, her voice began to carry a hint of a sob. Mommy, Where on earth did Daddy go? Did we make Daddy angry? Was my dream last night real? A thought that had never occurred before unconsciously surfaced in Shen Yui's mind. Her Wumo had left her and their daughter. No, this is impossible. It can't be. Daddy is just angry. We have to find Daddy and apologize to him. Shen Yui tried to suppress the panic in her heart, comforting her daughter. She opened the door to each room, one by one, trying to find any sign of him. But when she returned to the bedroom again, she suddenly realized that many things seemed to be missing from the bedroom. The dressing room, which was originally full of clothes, now only had his suits left, hanging there forlornly, and the vanity table was as clean as new. Shen Yui's heart tightened with pangs of pain. All of this indicated that he had left this place, left this home. Now she was filled with regret. Why didn't she come home last night? If it weren't for that, he wouldn't have left home. Once she finds him, she and their daughter must apologize to him properly. She told the staff to pull the villa's security footage from yesterday, wanting to know when exactly he had left. She discovered that not long after she and her daughter had left, he had thrown the cake into the trash can, returned to the bedroom, took a file folder and left. Yesterday's phone call flashed through Shen Yui's mind. The file folder yesterday. He said he had prepared a gift buried under the big tree. He must have left his address in there, waiting for her and their daughter to come pick him up. A glimmer of hope rose in Shen Yui's heart. She quickly carried her daughter and ran down to the garage. Tianyan, Mommy is taking you to find Daddy right now. Tianyan's little face, which was on the verge of tears, lit up upon hearing this. She immediately became excited, nodding her head vigorously. When I see Daddy, you'll definitely hug him tight and tell him that I missed him so much. Shen Yui stroked her daughter's head. She would be just like her daughter, telling Wu Mo just how scared she had been. She drove, speeding towards the sanatorium in the suburbs. Ever since I appeared 10 years ago, and little by little helped her recover to a normal state, she had never returned to this place. Although the sanatorium was now abandoned, Shen Yui could still find familiar memories. Seeing the rusty swing, she recalled our first meeting, my hair blowing in the wind. At that time, she still didn't know that the young man before her would lead her out of the gloomy darkness and become the truest love of her life. Seeing the decayed wooden bench, she remembered that since I appeared, the lone figure on the bench had gradually become two. Finally, she carried Tianyan to the base of the large tree. This was the place where she and I confessed our love. Tianyan had never been here before. She asked confusedly, Mommy, didn't you say we were going to find Daddy? Shen Yui put her daughter down, raising her hand to caress the markings on the tree trunk. A smile lit up in her eyes. This is where Daddy and Mommy met. Daddy left his address for us here. Once we find it, we can go pick Daddy up and bring him home. Tianyan let out a cheer, feeling a bit impatient. Mommy, let's hurry up and find it then. Shen Yui recalled what I said on the phone yesterday and started searching under the large tree. But the ground was covered in a thick layer of fallen leaves, making it hard to tell where exactly he had buried the item. The mother and daughter patiently searched inch by inch until Shen Yui noticed a patch of distinctly disturbed soil. She couldn't hide her excitement and quickly called Tianyan over. The mother and daughter dug together, and soon a file folder appeared before them. Tianyan couldn't wait any longer. Mommy, hurry and see where Daddy is. After a morning of panic, Shen Yui also just wanted to get news of me as quickly as possible. She hastily opened the file folder and took out the contents inside. A ring, along with pages of chat history and photos, immediately met her eyes. Today Yui hugged me and called me hubby. Looks like it won't be long before I have to give up the title of CEO Shin's husband. Last night, Yui was all over me for a round in the car. You and she have never tried that, right? Your daughter personally picked a flower for me today. She even said it was the first time she'd ever given someone a flower. Even you've never received one. Every page was filled with Yang Taiwei's boastful words. There were even unsightly photos of her and Yang Taiwei. An unprecedented fear enveloped Shen Yui's entire body. She felt as if the blood in her veins had frozen solid. So I already knew about her and Yang Taiwei, but she had no idea at all. When exactly did I find out? But right now, Shen Yui had no mind to figure it out. She just wanted to find me immediately. Even if I hit her, or scolded her, or even made her kneel and apologize, she would be willing. As long as she could find me and have me come home with her. She desperately searched for any other information among the evidence of the affair. But there was nothing. I hadn't even left her a single word. He only left her a ring. This ring was from their wedding years ago. The two of them had designed it themselves and had it custom made. They had once promised each other that they would never take the ring off no matter what. Now, this ring was in the file folder. What this represented, Shen Yui didn't dare to think any deeper. She was afraid of getting the answer she least wanted to hear. Tianyan didn't understand these things. She only knew clearly that just a moment ago, her mother was happy because she was about to find out where Daddy was. But now, her whole body exuded despair. The joy on her face had long since vanished. A child's intuition made the unease in her heart flare up again. She frantically hugged Shen Yui. Mommy, did something happen to Daddy? The papers in her hand slipped to the ground. Shen Yui closed her eyes. She had never felt it so difficult to utter a few words. Dad probably doesn't want us anymore. At this moment, images flashed through Shen Yui's mind. The image of me confessing my love to her under this large tree. Ha Wu Mo, be with me. I will love you forever. The image shifted. She saw the promise she had once sworn. In this life, I will only love you. I will absolutely not betray you. The 22-year-old me, my eyes filled only with trust. Okay, I'll marry you. Finally, the image settled on my birthday. Shen Yui now realized the deep pain in my eyes when I spoke of my friend's broken marriage. That friend was me. It turned out I had known about Yang Tai-Wei's existence for so long. For the past half-month, all of my unusual behaviors appeared clearly in her mind one by one. I had been planning to leave for a long time. And yet, she knew nothing. A bone-deep pain from her heart gradually spread throughout her body. The 22-year-old Shen Yue, in her heart and eyes, had only one man, Ha Wu Mo. She believed she would absolutely never betray him in the future. The 29-year-old Shen Yue had broken this vow with her own hands. When did the change begin? Shen Yue couldn't remember clearly anymore. She only remembered that after the first time she had relations with Yang Tai-Wei, her first thought was, I am an orphan. I have no relatives. So in this world, she and their daughter were my closest family. Besides the Shen family, I had nowhere else to go. And so, holding on to that thought, Shen Yue gradually let herself sink into depravity. But she never expected me to leave so decisively. Hearing Shen Yue's words, He Tan-Yan immediately burst into tears. I want daddy, but at this moment Shen Yue had no energy to comfort her daughter. Her gaze fell again on the screenshots of the messages on the ground. The panic and sorrow after I left all transformed into a surging fire of anger in her heart. Yang Tai-Wei, she had clearly warned him long ago not to let their affair be exposed in front of me and ruin the feelings between her and me. Shen Yue picked up all the papers, stuffed them into the file folder, and put it away carefully. She drove straight home, entrusted He Tan-Yan to the care of the staff, and then rushed to Yang Tai-Wei's house without stopping. Yang Tai-Wei was still sulking because Shen Yue had ignored his attempts to keep her there this morning, and left. He had thrown things around the house, making a mess. Hearing a knock on the door, he was annoyed. He opened the door with an impatient expression. Who is it? When he saw Shen Yue outside the door, his expression immediately turned joyful, but then he thought of the messy living room. His tone became a little flustered. His mind raced, searching for an excuse. Yue, why are you back? Today, Before he could finish his sentence, Shen Yue had already grabbed his neck tightly. The veins on her face bulged. She looked like a demon crawling out of hell. Yang Tai-Wei, you deserve to die. She never expected that this Yang Tai-Wei, who acted weak and innocent in front of her, pretending to have no intention of competing with me at all, was so disgusting behind her back. The survival instinct in the face of death made Yang Tai-Wei desperately beat at Shen Yue's hands with both of his own, but she had no intention of letting go. Her hands kept tightening as she uttered each word with bone-deep hatred. I warned you from the very beginning. Our business was not to be revealed in front of Wu Mo, and yet you dared to tell Wu Mo behind my back. You're just a toy I keep on the side. Since you don't know your place, don't blame me for being cruel. After saying that, she threw Yang Tai-Wei to the ground with an ice-cold expression. Her entire body radiated a chilling aura. Yang Tai-Wei clutched his neck, coughing violently, desperately gasping for air. He had never seen Shen Yue exude such a terrifying aura. Just last night, they were doing the most intimate things in the same bed. Now, she looked at him as if he were her enemy, but he knew Shen Yue's limits. He absolutely could not admit that he had sent provocative messages to me. He looked at Shen Yue with desperate eyes, tears welling up. Yue, in your eyes, am I that kind of person? I've only ever dared to beg in my heart for Master to share just a tiny bit of you with me. Even just a tenth would be enough. I never dared to have any other thoughts, and I would never, ever tell Master behind your back. That day, Shen Yue's movements froze. Her icy gaze stared intently at him, her eyes filled with rage and accusation. Are you sure I'm pregnant with your child? Initially, seeing Shen Yue's unrestrained anger, his heart was filled with fear. He was afraid she would discard him because of this. Even more, he feared her crazy revenge. However, the moment he heard that I had left, only one thought flashed through Yang Tai-Wei's mind. His chance had come. He had lived in a hellish environment since childhood. His father was a domestic abuser. His mother couldn't take it and eventually ran away with another man. He grew up amidst his father's beatings and the prejudiced stares of others. He grew up alone. Since starting university, after witnessing luxurious lifestyles completely different from his own, he secretly swore that he would definitely become exceptionally successful, no longer having to endure the cold shoulders and ridicule of others. 3 months ago, he successfully applied for the position of assistant to the CEO of the Shen Group. The first time he saw Shen Yue, he had already set her as his target to climb higher. Rumor had it that Shen Yue deeply loved her husband, but this didn't affect his ambition in the slightest. In his eyes, no rich person was faithful. Women who appeared deeply in love with their husbands on the outside once they tasted the forbidden fruit would become hopelessly addicted. Later, he really did achieve his goal. From an ordinary assistant, he suddenly became the man in Shen Yue's bed. After witnessing Shen Yue's generosity and magnanimity, his ambition grew even larger. He was no longer satisfied with hiding in the shadows. He knew Shen Yue had a daughter and felt that children were easier to win over. So whenever He Tan-Yan came to the company, he would watch cartoons with her, pretend to be interested in chatting with her, and buy all sorts of novel snacks according to her preferences. Just like that, he easily gained He Tan Yan's reliance and trust. At this point, the only obstacle preventing him from climbing higher was Seo Shin's husband. He had originally planned to wait until after I found out about him and Shen Yue, expecting I would cause a big scene with Shen Yue. Then, once Shen Yue was completely disgusted with me, he would play the role of the warm, understanding man and ascend to the official position. But he never expected me to leave so decisively. However, for him, this was an excellent opportunity. Yang Taiwei nodded firmly. He gently stroked Shen Yue's lower abdomen, his expression tender and fake. Yue, after we got together, we never used any protection. I was planning to take you to the hospital for a checkup after a while, but now that master is gone, Tan Yan is still young, she needs someone to take care of her. She's so attached to me. I believe she'd be very happy if you and I gave her a little brother. The more Yang Taiwei spoke, the more excited he became, completely lost in the dream of soon becoming Shen Yue's husband. He didn't notice at all that Shen Yue's expression had grown increasingly dark. Enough, Shen Yue roared, cutting him off. Her face was as black as the bottom of a pot. She advanced on Yang Taiwei step by step. My only husband is Wu Mo, and my daughter will not have any little brother. Only then did Yang Taiwei feel afraid. He swallowed instinctively. But as soon as he thought of the so-called child, he found his courage again. His eyes red, he said, Yue, I know you love Master, but he's gone. He's not coming back. This sentence completely ignited the fury in Shen Yue's heart. She swung her hand forcefully and slapped Yang Taiwei with all her might. Her long fingernails scratched bloody lines on his face. Shut up, Wu Mo is just angry. I will find him, apologize to him, and beg for his forgiveness. Once he's no longer angry, he will definitely come home with me. Yang Taiwei held his swollen red cheek, crying and shouting. Is Ha Wu Mo that important in your heart? And what about me? You're carrying my flesh and blood in your belly. How could you hit me? But his hoarse screams did not elicit a shred of pity from Shen Yue. Shen Yue squeezed his chin forcefully, her tone full of mockery. A child? The year Wu Mo came out of the ICU, I swore that I would never let him be in danger again in this life. That very afternoon, I went to have a tubal ligation surgery. In this life, I will only have one daughter, Tan Yan. Yang Taiwei's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. He never would have dreamed that Shen Yue had her fallopian tubes tied. He had always thought that when Shen Yue was with him and they didn't use protection, it was a tacit agreement that she would get pregnant with his child. Even though a month had passed and her belly showed no signs, he was confident that since they were together every day, a child would come sooner or later. He never expected it was all just his own delusion. Shen Yue released her hand, looking down on him condescendingly. A cold gaze without a trace of warmth. Starting today, you're fired. If you know what's good for you, then get out of this city immediately. Yang Taiwei's heart was filled with despair, but he wasn't willing to give up his golden goose. Shen Yue. Just like that, he hurriedly confessed. Yue, I just wanted to find an excuse to be with you. I know I was wrong. Don't chase me away. Shen Yue. I looked at him, her eyes filled with determination and cruelty. If you don't leave on your own, don't blame me for having someone deal with you. If it weren't for you, Yuma wouldn't have left home. I won't let you have the chance to appear before him again. Yang Taiwei knew that nothing he said could change Shen Yue's decision, so he decided to go all out and burn everything down. He staggered to his feet and pointed at Shen Yue's face mockingly. Blame me, Shen Yue. Do you really think Heiyumo would come back after finding out about us? What a joke. Calling yourself the most devoted CEO. I just pretended to be drugged by a business partner and fell into your arms. Didn't you fall for it? Hook, line, and sinker. And last night, you were the one all over me. Don't pin it on me. The one who really made Heiyumo leave was you. You, the good wife who always claimed to only love him. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became. Continuing to add fuel to the fire, he said, That's right. And your good daughter, He Xinyun. It was the two of you, mother and daughter, who forced him to leave with your own hands. Yang Taiwei's words were like a sharp knife, tearing away the final veil of self-deception in Shen Yue's heart. She recalled how she couldn't resist the temptation, betraying her marriage to me, recalled taking our daughter on a secret trip with another man behind my back, and not choosing to save me during the avalanche, recalled leaving me alone at home on our anniversary. She didn't dare imagine how desperate I had been for the past half-month. On the drive home, Shen Yue used all her connections to look for news of me everywhere. Anyone who knew me, she called every single one of them to ask, vowing that she must find me, to beg for my forgiveness. But the answer she got was always that they didn't know where I went. According to the schedule, my secretary looked up. I had never left this city. The last place I appeared was the sanatorium, but that place had been abandoned for years. There were no cameras. I was only seen going in with a file bag and never coming out. Shen Yue returned home in a daze. He Xinyan had been sitting on the sofa the whole time, waiting anxiously. Hearing the door open, she immediately ran over. Mom, did you find Dad? Shen Yue looked at her daughter's expectant eyes, and with difficulty shook her head. The light in his Xinyan's eyes dimmed, remembering those photos and text messages. Her eyes filled with panic. Mom, did Dad leave because we were with Brother Yang? Does Dad not want us anymore? Shen Yue looked at her daughter's tear-streaked face, her heart filled with pain and self-blame. If it weren't for her momentary foolishness, I wouldn't have left my daughter, and she wouldn't be in so much pain. She hugged He Xinyan tightly and said in a hoarse voice, "No, Dad wouldn't be so heartless. We did something wrong. As long as we find him and sincerely apologize to him, he will forgive us and come home with us." However, after making one call after another, a week went by and there was still no news of me. Someone stammered over the phone, "Xiao Shen, it's been so long without finding Mr. Hey, could he have?" Shen Yui immediately flew into a rage and threw her phone against the wall with all her might. Her eyes were bloodshot. Impossible. Nothing will happen to my Yu Mo. She increased the manpower searching for me, but there were still absolutely no leads. He Xinyan had never been away from me for so long. She cried all day, demanding to find her dad, helpless. Shen Yui, I could only take her to the secret room in the mansion. This place held all the memories of me and Shen Yui, from the moment we met until now since I left. Shen Yui wanted to open the secret room countless times, but whenever she thought of those photos and looked at the now empty house, her heart ached as if it were being cut by a knife. She was afraid she would collapse, so she never dared to open it. But a week had passed. The longing for me surged like a tide. She couldn't bear it any longer. She wanted to find some comfort from the happiness of the past. However, when she saw the incomplete photos in the secret room, she froze completely. He Xinyan frantically pulled out all the photos, flipping through them one by one, mumbling nonstop. "Impossible. How can he not be here? Impossible. Where is Yu Mo?" She picked up a photo. It was a family photo of the three of them from last New Year, but now, only she and her mother were in the photo. My part of the picture had been cut out by someone. She immediately burst into tears. "Where's my dad? Why has my dad disappeared?" Shen Yui immediately summoned all the house helpers in the mansion and asked each one who had touched the photos in the secret room. "Madam, we never dared to go near the secret room. Besides, we can't get in without the password. I remember now when the master was still at home. I think I saw him take something from the secret room and then burn it in the garden. But we didn't dare question the master's decision. We don't know what he burned." The helper's words were like a sledgehammer, striking Shen Yui's heart hard. She couldn't help but tremble. A terrifying thought rose in her mind. Could it be him? Shen Yui suddenly remembered something and rushed to the safe in the study. That's where our marriage certificate was kept. She stood before the safe, her hands trembling. Her heart was filled with fear. Trembling, she entered the password and opened the safe. When she saw it was empty inside, her heart turned completely cold. She gave a bitter smile. Tears dripped onto the floor one by one. She finally understood how much I hated them so much that not even a single photo or a marriage certificate did I want to keep, determined to erase all traces of myself from the Shen family. "Yu Mo, how could you be so cruel?" A terrifying thought appeared in her mind. Could we still find me? Even if we did, would I forgive them and go home with them? Shen Yui, I felt a sharp pain, suddenly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Her vision went black and she lost consciousness. A month had passed since I left. Shen Yui still had no news of me. She found someone to restore the digital copies of the photos from the secret room, reprinted all of them, and pasted them on the wall. He Xinyan stopped going to school too, and stayed cooped up in the secret room all day. At night, she had to clutch a photo of me to sleep. Shen Yui expanded the search area, even posting a notice online looking for me, hoping someone who saw me would inform her immediately. Netizens didn't know the real reason I left, and just thought I had met with some misfortune. Oh my god, nothing bad happened to Mr. He, right? Could he have been kidnapped? I heard CEO Shen is about to remarry. I heard CEO Shen is going crazy. Sigh. Such a rare, loving couple among the rich and powerful. I hope CEO Shen finds Mr. He soon. I still want to see them show off their love. Xiao Shen is truly deeply devoted to her husband. The little miss of the Shen family cries for her dad every day, a child without a father is so pitiful. Shen Yui always monitored this news, afraid of missing any useful clues. However, in the comments, aside from wishes for her to find me soon, it was all praise for our marital love. Not a single person said they had seen a glimpse of me. If it were before, Shen Yui would have felt proud seeing this news. But now, her heart was filled with only endless torment and fear. She knew very well that if she hadn't had an affair with Yang Taiwei, I would have never left. Just as the news about the search for me was getting hotter, a Weibo post caused a huge storm since Shen Yui fired Yang Taiwei. He couldn't find a job in the city anymore. No company dared to hire him. He knew this was Shen Yui forcing him to leave, and his heart was filled with resentment. In his opinion, his seducing Shen Yui was one thing, but if Shen Yui hadn't also been willing, he wouldn't have been able to get his revenge. He thought it was all that foolish woman's fault. Why should he be the one to bear the consequences? When he saw the news of the search for me all over the internet, the resentment in his heart turned into endless cruelty. He felt that Shen Yui was a hypocrite who didn't deserve to be praised by people, since she wouldn't let him live well. She shouldn't expect to live in peace either, so he took everything that happened between him and Shen Yui and exposed it all online, including intimate photos, the incident on their wedding anniversary, and even the fact that He Xinyan called him dad. As soon as the Weibo post was up, it immediately caused a sensation. Shen Yui's affair, Hayu Mo leaving home and related topics quickly climbed to the top of the trending list. Netizens who originally thought I went missing due to some misfortune had all been helping to keep an eye out, but when they saw Yang Taiwei's Weibo post, they learned that it was because of Shen Yui's affair that I had lost heart and left. Shen Yui's image as a loving wife collapsed in an instant. From a good wife everyone admired, she became a despicable adulteress scorned by the world. I can't believe I used to ship her and Hayumo's love story. Turns out she's just another woman who can't control her lower half, and she still has the nerve to search for him so publicly. I think Hayumo must have been utterly heartbroken and doesn't want anything to do with that mother and daughter anymore. That's why he erased all traces of himself. Mr. He left. It must be so painful to know his wife and daughter betrayed him. How pitiful. The pressure from public opinion caused the Shin Group's stock to plummet severely. The company fell into turmoil. However, the person who should have returned to the company to take charge, Shin Yui, was nowhere to be found. She sat in a bar, downing one glass of hard liquor after another. Only when drunk could she see the husband who once loved her so dearly. A pale-faced man who often loitered at the bar saw Shin Yui drinking alone to drown her sorrows. His eyes lit up immediately. Previously, when Shin Yui came to the bar, she didn't allow other men to be present. She said she was afraid I would get angry if I found out. Someone once didn't believe it and deliberately called over a group of various men. Shin Yui flew into a rage on the spot and beat that person until they were bleeding from the head. A nearly successful contract negotiation also went up in smoke. From then on, no one dared to provoke her again. The people in the bar all knew her boundaries. No one dared to get close. But now, the story of Shen Yua's affair with her male assistant was rampant everywhere. Everyone knew that on the surface, she loved her husband to death, but she had another man behind his back. This pale-faced man felt he had a chance. He thought if Shin Yui could get with her assistant, then maybe she would also take a liking to him. He smoothed his hair and walked over to Shen Yui's side, reaching out to put an arm around her shoulder and said in an ambiguous tone, "Sio Shen, drinking alone is so boring. Let me keep you company tonight, okay?" His insinuation was very clear. He was confident that she wasn't short of pursuers. Even if he wasn't successful tonight, he could at least strike up a conversation with Shen Yue. Unexpectedly, as soon as his hand touched Shen Yue, she moved away in disgust. The pale-faced man still didn't give up, leaning closer to Shen Yue and whispered in her ear, "Don't be so heartless, Kyo Shen. Your husband isn't home. You must be very lonely by yourself." This sentence touched a raw nerve for Shen Yue. Her eyes immediately turned bloodshot. Her hand tightened around the pale-faced man's neck. "My husband will come back. I will never do anything to betray him again." The pale-faced man found it hard to breathe and desperately slapped at Shen Yui's hand, but her grip only tightened. It wasn't until others in the bar noticed and rushed over to intervene that she finally let go. She looked icily at the pale-faced man gasping on the floor. "Don't let me see you again!" The pale-faced man scrambled away, escaping from Shen Yui's sight. He spat on the ground. Who knows how many times she's slept with her assistant. And she still pretends to be some kind of chaste martyr reeking of alcohol. Shen Yui returned to the mansion's bedroom, looking at the happy wedding photo hanging on the wall. With a thud, she fell to her knees on the floor. "Other than you, I will stay away from all men. Can you come back?" "I really know I was wrong." Her choked sobs echoed in the quiet room. She was like a lost child, hugging our wedding photo. Tears streamed endlessly from the corners of her eyes, while she constantly mumbled that she knew she was wrong. Unfortunately, I would never hear this belated repentance. I woke up in bed in the real world. I took the phone out of my pocket and discovered that time had gone back 6 years. I got up and went to the bathroom, looking at the much younger face in the mirror. I finally realized I had lived in the mission world for 10 years, but only 4 years had passed in the real world. The current me was no longer the 29-year-old Hayumo, but the 23-year-old Hayumo. Looking at this room that was both strange and familiar, I felt like a lifetime had passed. The sound of a door opening pulled me back from my memories to reality. I opened the bedroom door and came face to face with the mother I hadn't seen in 10 years. Mom had just come back from the market, was about to go into the kitchen when she glanced out of the corner of her eye and saw someone standing in front of her son's room. She thought there was a burglar in the house. Just as she was about to scream, she realized the person's face was incredibly familiar. The strength in her hands suddenly vanished. The grocery bag fell to the floor. Vegetables scattered everywhere. Mom stood there stunned. Her feet felt as heavy as lead. She took difficult step after step towards me. When she reached me, she raised her trembling hands. Her eyes were already brimming with tears. "Yumo, is that you? Yumo?" She wanted to touch my cheek, but was afraid it was a hallucination that would disappear if she touched it. Ever since I went missing, she would stare at my photo all day in a daze. Every night, she hoped to see me in her dreams. But in the past 4 years, her wish was never granted. Now, suddenly seeing my figure, even though my face had changed a little, she still recognized me at first glance. I looked at my mother's graying hair. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Hearing my mother's hesitant voice, I couldn't hold back anymore. I hugged her tightly, sobbing my heart out. "Mom, it's me. I'm back." Mom felt my warm body and finally truly realized her son was still alive. She hugged me tightly, crying without a sound. "Where have you been for the past 4 years? Do you know how hard your father and I have looked for you?" The two of us hugged and cried loudly. Mom continuously recounted how for the past 4 years, she and Dad never gave up searching for me, even though people around them, even the police, advised that I might have met with danger and was no longer in this world. They still firmly believed I was alive. Relying on that belief, they persevered for 4 years and never moved, afraid I wouldn't be able to find them if I came back. After a long while, we finally calmed down. Mom caressed my cheek, her eyes filled with pity and love. Yumo, you must have suffered a lot these past 4 years. Mom's words made the tears I had just stopped well up again. I hugged her tightly again and said with a choked voice, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was filled with regret for the so-called love back then that made me cruelly abandon my parents, leaving them to suffer the pain of missing me. If I could turn back time, I would definitely not hesitate to make the right choice. Dad heard the news of my return and immediately rushed home. He saw me and Mom sitting on the sofa, both of our faces showing traces of recent tears. My usually stern father couldn't help but give a helpless smile. In the end, I decided to recount my 10 years in the mission world to my parents. They are the people I trust most in this world. It took me 3 hours to recount the past 10 years in detail. When I finished the last word, I took a sip of water from the glass on the table to give my parents time to digest this information. My parents' initial shock gradually turned into heartache. They could never have imagined that in their impression, I was still a cheerful and lively college student. Yet now I had experienced marriage and childbirth in another world, and even suffered a double betrayal from my wife and daughter. Mom looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. She said with heartache, Mayumo, you've suffered. Seeing the same pained expression on my parents' faces, my heart was filled with guilt and regret. It was all because of my initial whim that caused my parents to live in sorrow for so many years. Mom wiped away her tears and held my hand tightly, asking me what my plans were next. Before I disappeared in this world, I was still in university. A month later, my parents helped me file for a leave of absence, but I had already completed 4 years of university in the mission world and didn't want to go back to school. Besides, although I looked 23, my soul was already 29. Fitting in with students would feel awkward. I thought for a moment and decided to find a quiet town to rest for a while. The failed marriage with Shen Yue had taken a huge toll on my psyche. I needed to be alone to slowly readjust. Although my parents were a bit reluctant, they still agreed. Remember to text us every day to let us know you're safe. They had waited so long and hard for my return and didn't want to experience the pain of losing me again. I nodded. Tears welled up in my eyes again. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. My parents patted my shoulder, comforting me. You silly child, as long as you're back, that's all that matters. Let the past be the past. For the next few days, I stayed at home with my parents while searching for a suitable town online. A week later, I finally chose Lin Shui Town. Before I left, my parents had already helped me pack my luggage, filling my suitcase with homemade food, afraid I wouldn't be used to the food outside. On the day of my departure, my parents stayed with me at the airport for a long time until the plane was about to take off. They reluctantly waved goodbye. Lin Shui Town. I had been living here for almost a week. I had rented a house online before coming, and it took almost a week to decorate it to my liking. The pace of life here is very slow, which has made my mood much more relaxed. Outside my bedroom window, there is a large cherry blossom tree. It's now the peak blooming season. As soon as I open the window, I see the whole tree full of purple flowers. From where I live, it's a 10-minute walk to a lake. Every evening at dusk, I take a walk along the lake, watching the brilliant red sunset. Besides the evening glow, I also often saw a child sitting on the swing. At first, I thought the child was with an adult. Tourists didn't pay much attention either, but she appeared at the same spot every evening. Next to her, there was no adult with her. On the 5th day, I hesitated for a long time. Finally, I couldn't help but sit down next to her and gently ask the little one, "Where are your parents?" The girl was about 4 years old, with a round face and 2 small pigtails. She was incredibly cute. Hearing my question, the child looked up at me, then suddenly threw herself into my arms. I was a bit taken aback. "What did you just call me?" The little girl was still nestled in my arms and choked out the word Dad. I was very sure that my only daughter was He Xinyan. I couldn't possibly have a 3-year-old daughter. I figured she must have mistaken me for someone else. I was just about to pick her up and take her to the police station to find her family when a woman's voice came from behind me. The little girl looked up and shouted towards the newcomer, "Mom, it's Dad." The woman saw me and was stunned for a moment. He Yun. I tried to search my memory, but I couldn't remember who the person in front of me was. My memories of this world stopped 10 years ago. Even if we had known each other, 10 years have passed. My memory of it had long become hazy. The woman saw my confused expression. A hint of disappointment flashed in her eyes. Then she spoke up. "Im Jiangwan Ro, your senior. 2 years above you. We were in the same club together. Do you remember?" My memory slowly returned. The face of the woman before me matched the image of the always gently smiling senior in my memory. "Senior Jiang, long time no see. Your child is already this big." When I first started university, I joined the debate club. Jiang Wanro was the president. Although that memory had faded a bit, I remember she treated everyone very well. She even helped me out once. Jiang Wanro took the child from my arms and explained, "And An is my older sister's daughter. My sister and brother-in-law passed away when she was very young. I adopted her and let her call me Mom. The clothes you're wearing are exactly like the ones my brother-in-law wore the day he passed away. That's why she mistook you for her father. I'm really sorry." Only then did I understand the reason, and in hard Jiang Wanro's words, and realized she had made a mistake. She lowered her head and said nothing. Seeing an An's sad expression, my heart ached, and I blurted out, "If an An wants, you can call me Dad." As soon as the words left my mouth, I realized what I had just said, and hurriedly explained, "I didn't mean anything else by it. I just..." Before I could finish, an An was already reaching out to me with a tearful face. "Dad, Hold an Anne, although she's young, the child really liked me. She wanted me to be her father. I quickly took her in my arms, gently patting her back and softly comforting her. I quickly soothed her to sleep. A look of surprise flashed in Jiang Wanro's eyes. This was the first time an An had been so close to a stranger. After an An fell asleep, I was afraid that handing her back to Jiang Wanro would wake her up, so I offered to carry her home. When we reached the door, I discovered that they lived on the floor just below mine. I carefully placed an An on the bed and tucked her in carefully. Then, Jiang Wanro and I tiptoed out of the room. We went out to the balcony. This was the first time since returning to the real world that I had interacted with someone I knew besides my parents. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Jiang Wanru looked at me, her eyes filled with nostalgia. Where did you go all those years ago? I disappeared too suddenly. Everyone at school only knew that my parents had filed for a leave of absence for me. After that, no one ever saw me again, but I had no way to explain what had happened to me, so I could only give her an apologetic smile. Jiang Wanru was not the type to pry into personal matters. She knew everyone had their own secrets. She felt that just seeing me again was enough. We talked about an An. I learned that Jiang Wanru is now a doctor. Her job is very busy. She often couldn't take care of an An. She had hired a nanny before, but the first nanny abused an An. From then on, she didn't dare to easily entrust an An to others anymore. She could only juggle between work and taking care of an An. Although an An was young, she was very understanding. After school, she would go to the swings to wait for Jiang Wanro to pick her up. On weekends, she would stay obediently at home. After hearing this, I pitied the little girl even more. When He Xinyan was 4, I almost never left her side. But an An often had to be alone. Seeing my pained expression, Jiang Wanro asked tentatively, Vumac, I have an unreasonable request. I see that an An really likes you. Could you help me take care of her for a while? She knew this request was very unreasonable. For a man, taking care of a child is not simple at all, but she didn't want to make an An wait every day. I just thought of the sight of the little girl crying and calling for her dad, and my heart softened, so I readily agreed. A look of joy flashed in Jiang Wanro's eyes. She hurriedly said, Thank you so much, Vumac. To repay you, feel free to name your price. I refused. Jiang Wanru felt a bit guilty. I told her it was because I liked an An. Besides, I was free now anyway. Taking care of an An also gives me something to do. Since then, Jiang Wanru would take an An to school every morning, and I was responsible for picking her up. Jiang Wanru often had surgeries and got off work very late, so I would take an An to the park to play on the slide, cook for her, and tell her fairy tales before bed. On weekends when Jiang Wanru was off, we would take an An to the amusement park together, and An grew more and more attached to me. In her heart, she also saw me as her real father. That day, I went to pick an An up from school. She skipped all the way home, lifting her small face, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. Dad, next week, my school is having a parent-child sports day. Can you and Mom come? Looking at her expectant eyes, my heart melted. I stroked her head and said, Of course, Mom and Dad will participate with an An. When Jiang Wanru heard about the sports day, she also said she would make time to attend. That day, an An held my hand tightly and introduced me to her friends one by one. This is my dad. Isn't he handsome? My dad is a great cook. Jiang Wanro saw this scene and felt both amused and helpless. She pretended to be jealous and said, An has never introduced me to her friends so formally. An hugged my neck tightly and rubbed her chubby face against my cheek. Everyone already knows you're my mom, but they've never seen my dad before. They kept saying Dad didn't want me anymore. Now I have to show them that Dad didn't abandon me. The child's innocent voice made both me and Jiang Wanru feel a pang in our hearts. I affectionately kissed her cheek. Dad will always be with you. Jiang Wanro looked at me, her heart filled with a sense of contentment. During the sports day, we cooperated perfectly, winning one first prize after another, and An was so happy she cheered until her voice was hoarse, her face beaming with pride. After the sports day ended, we took an An to the zoo. This was an An's first time at the zoo. Seeing so many animals, she was so excited she didn't know where to look. Jiang Wanru lifted the child onto her shoulders so she could see better. In the evening on the way back, an An leaned against Jiang Wanru and fell asleep. Jiang Wanru insisted on walking me to my door. Just as we reached the door, an An woke up. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and waved to me. Dad, see you tomorrow. I smiled and pinched her cheek. I was just about to open my mouth when I heard two familiar voices. Dad, after a month of relentless searching, Xin Yui still hadn't found anything. Everyone around her advised her to give up. Even old Master Shen, who had long since retired, advised her to stop searching. In old Master Shen's opinion, I had been determined to leave, so I wouldn't have left any clues for her to find. Right now, the company was in crisis. She should return to the company to handle business, but Xin Yui refused to give up. She was convinced she would find me. Old Master Shen, seeing his granddaughter being so stubborn, felt both angry and helpless. He thought if she had known it would be this painful, why would she have done something to wrong me in the first place? To prevent the company from collapsing, Old Master Shen had to personally come out of retirement to take over the business. From then on, Xin Yui focused all her energy on searching for me. He Xinyan also followed her mother all day, searching. As soon as they received any news about me, they would rush over immediately, but they were disappointed every time. Shen Yue, who never believed in gods or Buddhas, even took his Xinyan everywhere, kowtowing every 3 steps, bowing her head in prayer just to see me again. Finally, that That day, in the minds of the mother and daughter, a voice resounded simultaneously. That voice told them that I was not from this world and had now returned to the world where I belonged, so of course, they couldn't find me. From that mechanical voice, they learned that I was a task doer on a mission. 7 years ago, the mission had already ended, but because of Shen Yue, I chose to stay. It was their betrayal that made me completely lose heart and decide to return to my old world. After Shen Yue learned everything, the pain in her heart deepened even more. She knew I gave up everything for her, but she was the one who betrayed me. He Xinyan also knew she was the reason I left. She just wanted to see me again, apologize to me, and beg for my forgiveness. But they and I were not in the same world. How could they find me? The mechanical voice spoke again. It could give them a chance to come to the other world to find me, but only for 24 hours. If they could get me to agree within 24 hours to return with them, then the family of 3 could be reunited. Conversely, if I refused to return, they would have to pay with their health for the rest of their lives. The mother and daughter accepted this plan without hesitation. Even if they had to trade their health, they were willing to take the gamble, but they never expected that. After 2 months apart, the scene of our reunion would be like this. Before meeting me, Shen Yue had always thought we had been in love for 10 years, and He Xinyan was the child I'd poured my heart into raising. Even if I was angry, as long as they sincerely admitted their mistake, I would surely forgive them. The family of 3 would definitely go back to how they were and live a happy life. She would love me with all her heart and not be tempted by any other man. But she never expected that in just 2 months, there would be another woman by my side and I would be holding a child who even called me dad. We looked just like a family of 3. Shen Yue's mind went blank. She couldn't think at all. Yi Xinyan felt incredibly wronged. The father who loved her most had left. She and her mother had struggled so hard to find him. Yet now, another child was calling him dad. Yi Xinyan rushed forward like a little firecracker, wanting to throw herself into my arms. Dad, I missed you so much. I snapped out of my initial shock and leaned aside to avoid her hug. Why are you two here? Just then, the system I thought had disappeared spoke up. Host, the mission world is showing signs of collapse. Listening to the system's explanation, I then learned that after I left, Shen Yue had fallen back into a state of self-seclusion, even more serious than when her parents died years ago. Other than going out to search for news about me, she would just lock herself in a closed room, ignoring the company as well. It took the retired old master Xin to step in to stabilize the teetering Shen Corporation, and He Xinyan also couldn't handle the shock of my departure, crying all day and demanding to find me. The world was facing the risk of collapse, so the system was forced to intervene and give the mother and daughter, Shen Yue and He Xinyan, a chance to meet me again, but only for 24 hours. The system told me that as long as within these 24 hours, I made them completely lose hope and let them know I no longer loved them, that there was no way I would go back. After hearing the system's explanation, I found it truly ironic. It was their actions that made me decide to leave, and yet, after I left, they desperately wanted to find me. Vumac, our daughter and I have been looking for you all this time. Shen Yue couldn't help but step forward, staring at me without blinking, as if afraid I would disappear the very next second. He Xinyan also looked tearfully at Jiang Wanro, seeing how that other child called me, and the way she looked at me, she realized the relationship between me and them, and Anne also woke up. Hearing that other older sister also call me dad, she felt a little uneasy. He Xinyan couldn't contain her anger and shouted at Anne, "He's my dad?" I frowned and lightly pinched Anne's cheek. Good girl. And Anne, go home and sleep with mom first, okay? Dad has some business to attend to. I gave Jiang Wanro a reassuring look. Take Anne home to sleep first. I have some business to take care of. Although Jiang Wanro had many questions, she knew it wasn't the right time to ask, so she nodded in agreement. I bent down and kissed Anne's cheek and said gently, "Good night, and Anne, see you tomorrow?" Then I turned to face Shen Yue. My face was as cold as ice. There was no warmth in my eyes. He Xinyan hadn't seen me for 2 months, had finally found me after so much trouble, only to see another child call me dad. The gentle father of the past was now so cold, she couldn't hold back her feelings of being wronged and burst into tears. Dad, don't you want me anymore? I'm your real daughter. Before, whenever He Xinyan cried, I would patiently comfort her, but now I just stood there quietly watching her. He Xinyan cried for a long time, but still, I didn't wipe her tears. She opened her eyes and saw me still standing in the same spot, looking at her coldly. Have you cried enough? Now you understand how I felt when I learned you called Yang Tai Wei dad, don't you? From the moment He Xinyan was born, I raised her with my own hands. My feelings for her were no less than my feelings for Shen Yue. When she was sick, I stayed up all night by her bedside on her first day of kindergarten. I secretly went to the school to watch. When she had a nightmare and couldn't sleep, I would lean against the headboard and pat her back, singing her a lullaby. I thought that even if Shen Yue betrayed me, at least my daughter wouldn't. I placed all my hopes on her, but she, like Shen Yue, chose to betray me. The more affection I gave, the more painful it was when I learned the truth. He Xinyan now knew she was wrong, she said through sobs. Dad, I was wrong. I shouldn't have called someone else dad. Only you are my dad. She wanted to hold my hand like before, but I coldly avoided it. Regret is useless now. Shen Yue saw how heartless I was to the daughter I once loved most. Her face turned pale and she fell silent. My gaze finally fell on Shen Yue. I hadn't seen her in 2 months. She no longer had her refined and elegant appearance. She looked haggard, with dark circles under her eyes. Shen Yue, why did you come looking for me? Don't you have Yang Taiwei already? The first time I noticed Shen Yui's attitude towards Yang Taiwei change, I didn't pay any mind. I thought we had been in love for 10 years, maybe I was just overthinking it. She wouldn't betray our love, but after being deceived and abandoned time and time again, and seeing her being intimate with Yang Taiwei with my own eyes, I finally realized she had had a change of heart. That's why I resolutely left that world, and yet now she's come to this world, risking everything. It really fits the saying, you don't know what you have until it's gone, not cherishing what you have when you have it. Shen Yue hurriedly explained. I've already sent Yang Taiwei away. I've been going crazy looking for you all this time. Let's go home together, please. The person I've always loved is you. I looked at their expectant eyes and laughed mockingly, ruthlessly shattering their hopes. That stopped being our home a long time ago. Shen Yue, stop deceiving yourself and others. You don't love me anymore. Shen Yue didn't understand how she could not love me. Ever since I left, she hadn't had a single peaceful night's sleep to find me. She was even willing to trade her health. How could it be that she didn't love me? She looked at me, her eyes filled with pain. How could I not love you? I laughed coldly, secretly tearing up the marriage certificate with Yang Taiwei behind my back on my birthday. You and he looked at each other affectionately. When the avalanche hit during the ski trip, you protected him without hesitation. With every sentence I spoke, Shen Yue's face grew a shade paler. My every word was like a knife stabbing into her heart. At this moment, she hated herself immensely. If she had stayed true to her heart from the beginning and pushed Yang Taiwei away, then none of this would have happened. Seeing the pain in her eyes, my heart felt no ripples. I know you two came here to take me back, Shen Yue, He Shenyan, listen carefully. From the moment I left, we no longer have any relationship. Hearing my ruthlessness, Shen Yue staggered back, a desperate look on her face. Vumek, can you really not forgive me? Although He Shenyan didn't quite understand the earlier words, she understood the meaning of my last sentence. Her father didn't want her anymore. She refused to give up, looking at me with pleading eyes. Dad, Mom and I really know we were wrong. I shook my head. I can't forgive you, and don't call me Dad anymore. After saying that, I turned and closed the door, shutting out the sounds of crying from outside. The next day was Ann's birthday, half a month ago. Zhang Wanru and I had planned to take the little girl to the aquarium. Then we would go take a family photo together. Early in the morning, Zhang Wanru brought an Anne to wait for me at the door. I finished packing my things and opened the door to receive a kiss from an Anne. Daddy, let's go. Her sweet voice made all the unhappiness from last night vanish instantly. I also kissed her on the forehead. Good morning, Anne. Happy birthday, Daddy's little treasure. I took An and held her in my arms. The three of us prepared to set off for the island. Shen Yue and Haxinyan had been huddled in the hallway all night. The system only gave them 24 hours. They arrived in this world yesterday morning. I wasn't home. They waited all day just to see me, but they only received my heartless words. Now their time is almost up. They are about to return to their old world. They wanted to see me one more time. Wumo, Daddy. I opened the door and saw them huddled in a corner, but I didn't even want to glance at them. Hearing their calls, I didn't turn my head back. I made myself very clear last night. We have no relationship anymore. Shen Yue's face turned pale again. Her body swayed as if she was about to fall, but thinking about how little time was left, she still led Ha Xinyan forward. Wu Mo, even if you can't forgive me, but Xinyan is your daughter. My daughter and I are about to leave. Can you hug her one more time? Ha Xinyan cautiously tugged at my shirt. Daddy, I truly know I was wrong. Can you hug me one last time, Daddy? Zhang Wanro stood to the side holding an Anne, saying nothing. At that moment, an Anne suddenly asked, Daddy, is this big sister really our family? Hearing this question, Zhang Wanro also grew tense. I thought for a moment. She used to be Daddy's daughter now. Daddy only has an An as his daughter. The moment my words left my mouth, Ha Xinyan burst into sobs. Daddy, please don't. I'm your daughter. Anan looked at Ha Xinyan crying so heartbreakingly, felt a bit of pity. Daddy, did big sister do something wrong? Can't you forgive her? I chuckled and pinched Anan's cheek. When you grow up, you'll understand, some mistakes can never be forgiven. My words, to Shen Yue and Ha Xinyan, were like a death sentence. They knew they would never receive my forgiveness. In the end, I paid no attention to their reactions. I took an An from Jiang Wanrao's arms and left with her. Daddy, don't abandon me. Ha Xinyan watched my retreating back, reaching out and wailing miserably. Shen Yue could only hold her daughter tightly, as tears fell silently. She regretted it. If she had pushed Yang Taiwei away at the beginning, if she hadn't brought her daughter along to secretly meet Yang Taiwei, if only she had cut ties with Yang Taiwei, then things wouldn't have come to this today. But in this world, there are no ifs, and time cannot be turned back. She brought all these consequences upon herself. Walking out of the apartment complex gate, I looked at Zhang Wanru and asked curiously, Don't you want to know why I have such a grown-up daughter? Zhang Wanru smiled gently. Everyone has their own secrets. You'll wait until you're ready to tell me. Besides, I can see that mother and daughter are already in the past. I was momentarily stunned, then broke into a relieved smile. Zhang Wanru was right. Shen Yue and Ha Xinyan had become the past. They will no longer appear in this world, nor will they appear in my life anymore. At this, Anan puffed out her chest. I have my own secret too. She made us laugh. What little secret does our Anan have? Mommy really wants to know. Daddy wants to hear it too. You can't just tell Mommy, okay? When my back completely disappeared from Xin Yui and her daughter's sight, their figures also began to fade away. They had returned to their own world, just as the mechanical voice had said. They couldn't make me return with them, therefore, they would lose their health. From then on, Shen Yui and Ha Xinyan were plagued with illnesses. Ha Xinyan only held on for less than 5 years before she passed away. Before she closed her eyes, she looked at the tear-streaked Shen Yui by her bedside and said weakly, "Mommy, I really miss Daddy so much. I regret it so much." Shen Yui stared blankly as her daughter died. The last glimmer of hope in her heart was shattered. She lost her parents when she was young. In her middle age, she lost her husband and her child, and all of this was by her own hand. After cremating her daughter, she jumped into the sea, holding the urn. In the cold seawater, she seemed to see me, whom she hadn't seen in many years. Just like when she was 19, I smiled and extended my hand towards her. "Goodbye."